Hey everyone, welcome to Miles Beyond the Page. I'm your host, Michelle Miles, and this is the show where we dive deep into the world of writing and publishing. Each week, I sit down with authors from every stage of their journey. We'll explore the creative process, uncover tips and insights, and celebrate the highs and lows of the writing life. So grab your beverage of choice, settle in, and join me as we go miles beyond the page. And I know I'm going to butcher your last name, so Jean, tell us your last name.
Skartsiaris.
Skartsiaris. Did I get it
Skartsiaris.
right?
Yeah,
All
it
right.
looks worse than it is. Yeah, it's a tough one.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here today. Award-winning author Jeanne Skartsiaris, did I do
Very
it
good.
right?
Yeah.
Spins stories about life, digging into the soul of her characters while they deal with real-life challenges. Many readers identify with her stories, making them laugh as well as cry. That sounds great.
Oh, you make me sound so good.
So today we're going to be talking about your book, The Magdalenes. So the Magdalenes, I have here in my notes that it won first place in the San Antonio's Writers Guild in 2019, has received 5-star reviews with readers' favorites in 2019, was a finalist in 2023 Page Turner Awards and a finalist for the 2024 American Fiction Awards and the 2024 Book Bloggers novel of the year. So tell us about this book and what it's about and why you decided to write it.
Okay, so The Magdalenes is about Jude Madigan, who was raped by a priest when she was 14 and got pregnant. Anyway, she's came from kind of abusive home, and she wound up moving to Texas to have the baby and just stayed in Texas. And she wound up going to law school, became a plaintiff's attorney. But this is about, it sounds like a downer book. It's really not. Um, Jude's very successful as a plaintiff's attorney, but all of a sudden she's asked to uh, help be the trustee of a halfway house that's run by nuns for prostitutes. And she's like, I don't want anything to do with anything that has to do with the Catholic Church or nuns,
Hmm.
but her boss makes her do it. So she has to do it. And she winds up becoming, close to the women and the nuns. And it's really what she needed to heal after that rape, because she
Hmm.
just shut herself down. And so she came across as being, kind of a bitch, but she just kept everything inside. But she was successful. She could handle the job. Her dating life was horrible. She says it's like catch and release. She didn't want to get involved with anybody, but she just find somebody, and as soon as she was done with them, they were. So anyway, this book is about why she was asked to help out with the home,
Hmm.
about the nuns. The nuns in this book are fabulous, and so are the characters, the residents of the home. Anyway, it was a book that kind of needed to be told, and it's about overcoming any abuse.
Hmm. And so what inspired you to write this?
Oh man, I had a friend working for a a Magdalene home in Nashville, Tennessee, and this is many years ago, and it was run by the Episcopal Church, and they, it's for not just prostitutes, but for women who need to get off the streets for some reason. And I thought, "Oh, what a great idea to do, have the nuns run that, and for the prostitutes, because there's such a conflict between those two
Hmm.
characters." Um, and it just was that was the spark, and I just sat down and started writing. And then this is the second book that I wrote. My first book, Dance Like You Mean It, is just fun. I mean, it took me forever to write that book. I didn't know what I was doing. It was such a hot mess. Rejected like crazy. And so finally I started taking classes and joined RWA or DARA, and
Hmm.
learned about the craft a little bit more. So I did find an agent um, and publisher for Dance Like You Mean It. But in the meantime, I'd done some young adult novels that I published. I self-published those.
Hmm.
While Dance was being edited, I didn't want to start another book, so I pulled the Magdalenes down. I really thought that it was going to be too hard of a content for readers, but I just pulled it down anyway because I just wanted to look at it again. It was really good. The story was good, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. So, and it's
It
got good reviews.
yeah, it sounds like it, and it's won lots of awards. Is this what genre would you say this is? Is this women's fiction or yeah,
It's
women's
women's
fiction?
fiction. Yeah,
Is and did you indie publish this one or is this through the publisher?
it's through a publisher.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
So, uh, but you know what? It's a small publishing house though, so we
Yeah.
don't want to say it's an indie published book because you still don't get any recognition. You know, pounding on people's doors.
It
So
is hard. I can agree with you on there. It is very, very hard. And I didn't realize you were in Dara. So I are you still in a
that's how we
member?
met a long time ago.
We
Yeah.
okay, so that's been like a long time ago. I let my membership lapse and then I'm just recently back. So um I'm just trying to get back into things and it's been kind of a whirlwind back into
Well, I'm
RWA.
so impressed with how prolific you are.
Oh,
You have
thanks.
so many books and everything you post, and I'm thinking, I can't even get a sentence written, and you've already written another book, so I'm very impressed with you.
Well, I think I'm a little, a glutton for punishment.
Yeah,
You
I can
know,
see.
and I'm just really, really determined to succeed. And it just takes a lot of commitment, and you just really have to be disciplined to find that, that time to write. But we're not talking about me today. We're talking about you. So, um, let's talk about your writing journey. What inspired you to start writing?
I love to read. I love stories. And I thought, some of the books that I read, I thought, I could do this. So that's when I sat down to write Dance Like You Mean It. I thought it was going to be easy. Just hammer out a fiction novel, no big deal. No, I had no idea. I didn't know a point of view. I didn't know it had to structure a story, the characters.
Hmm.
And so it took a long time. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful that I had a couple of fabulous critique groups that kind of smacked me around a little bit. And
I think a good critique, no, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think that a good critique group is just worth their weight in gold, right? I mean,
yeah.
they can really help you hone your voice and figure out how to write and structure a story. So, and I think RWA was a big part of that too. For me, when I first started out, it was a long time ago now, but that organization it just really helped me kind of become the writer that I am. And I think there is something to be said for finding those writing groups that will help kind of nurture you and help you grow as a writer.
And not only
Um,
that, the RWA had so many good resources. Uh,
yes.
the editors, I found my cover artist through RWA, and it's a fabulous place that you can just bounce ideas off of people.
Yeah. So how did you decide to pick did the genre pick you or did you pick the genre? How did you decide on that?
I would say the genre picked me. Most of the books I read are fiction. They'd be probably women's fiction. I read everything, but those are the ones I gravitate toward.
Mm-hmm.
The two young adult books that I wrote are they were for me they were easier than the women's fiction, but they were still good stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those I could sit down and write, and that really helped me learn the craft too. So then I went back. I mean, this is like a over 20-year process. Went back to Dance Like You Mean It, got lucky, found an agent and a publisher, and got out there, went out in the world. Um, so I'm very happy about that. And then even I was in New York one weekend and staying with a friend. I left them a book, and they had another friend who was a movie agent who just happened to pick it up, and she read it like in one night, and so she wanted to promote it and see maybe
Mm-hmm.
shop it in LA. She's from LA. Um, but it was the first week of COVID
Oh,
when we were going back and forth, and she goes, "Let's just get through whatever this is, and then we'll revisit it." So COVID shut everything down,
yeah.
in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I've reached out to her again, but she's kind of moved on.
Oh, that's
Just
terrible.
I know. but I'm not giving up hope.
No, never give up. So we kind of already talked about what your first story was. I think a little bit. What the very first book you wrote was
Dance
Dance
like you.
Like You Mean It. Um, so, and you might have already touched on this. What did you learn from that experience, from writing that book?
No, well, okay, learning how to structure a story and then letting the characters tell the story. That's how I write. I sit at the computer and I just wait. It's like, please start talking because I'm a pantser. I can't
Hmm.
structure and outline the story very well. I just let the characters move it forward. And
Yeah,
luckily, they've always been good characters.
that's
So
good. Yeah, I'm a pantser too. Well, I'm trying to get better, but it's really hard for me. I cannot follow a plot line. I mean, I've tried and I'm just like, my brain doesn't work that way.
I
So,
know, me too. I get bogged down. But
yeah,
what's difficult as a pantser, it's when you get to the end, you got to wrap everything up. And the people who outline, I think, have all that organized better than
yeah.
somebody like me who I get to the end and go, okay, now what happens?
What do I do now? How do I wrap it up? So what does a typical writing routine look like for you?
Well, I'm still working, so I don't have a whole lot of free time, but I like to get away alone, and sit down at the computer. I don't want any distractions. It's hard for me to write at home even because I know that the laundry needs to be folded, dishes need to be done. So I try to get away if I can, and I'm more productive that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's finding the time,
Do, do you have a set writing schedule or do you just kind of write whenever you can?
right? Whenever, the spirit moves me. I wish I were more disciplined, and I am working toward retirement, so maybe I will have some more time that I can actually
Hmm.
sit down and just say, this time is going to be for writing. But sometimes when you're forcing yourself to write that time, it's hard to be creative for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But yeah, be a little more productive.
Right. I understand. It's hard to make yourself um learn that behavior of sitting down and writing consistently. It takes a while to get yourself into that. So how do you stay motivated whenever a project or a book gets really tough?
I don't know. It's the voices in my head that just keep, smacking me and saying, get back to it and start writing.
Hmm.
Um, the motivation, sometimes, like right now, I'm a little stuck. I'm writing a historical narrative nonfiction that has really been difficult for me because there's so much research involved. I don't want to mess anything up. Um, where with the fiction, sometimes I'll just go out and take a walk. I'll put my some music on, take a nice walk, and then think about the book. And I
Hmm.
visualize, what should be happening. And then I come back in and hopefully write it.
Yeah. Sometimes getting that breath of fresh air really helps too, for sure. What are some tools or techniques that you use to overcome writer's block?
I don't, I just whine. I don't know. No. Um, I uh, Forcing yourself. And what's helped me is if I'll go back in the story and re-edit, just reread some pages, do
Yeah.
some edits, and that kind of helps move it forward again. Because then I'm back in the story and the characters are starting to talk again.
Right.
But
I find that helps too. If I've been away from the page for too long, I try to get back into it by reading those pages and see where did I leave off and what was I thinking. Um, so I think you might have shared this a little bit too, but let's talk about your journey to publication. How did you get started and what was that what did that journey look like for you when you got your first book published?
well, I was very excited. But it took many years for that to happen. I took some classes. I went to SMU, Southern Methodist University, and took
Mhm.
some writing classes there. And that's where I found my first critique group, and they were wonderful. Um, Still, I got the book published. I mean, I'm sorry, I got the book finished, and I took it to New York with some agents there. Everybody wanted to read it, but nobody took me on. So then years later, I wound up shelving dance for a while. And that's when I
Mhm.
pulled out and started writing the Magdalenes. And then I finished Magdalenes and started. the, you know, trying to submit to agents, and again was rejected. So I shelved Magdalenes, and then I wrote those young adults. And so I write them, and then if I don't get instant gratification, then I move on to something else. And so then finally I went back and found, and I was actually at a book event with my young adult books, and I met with an agent there. And I said, I've got a book. If you want to read it? And she said, sure. And she took me on. Um,
Nice.
and so, yeah, but it just, sometimes if I can't keep working on the same book when I've got other stories going. So I'll just, and you are very much like that with all the books you publish.
Yeah.
But instead of really committing myself and finding an agent and sticking to that one project, I move on to another one, and then I'll go back. So
Yeah,
I'm
I find that I can't write on two books at the same time. My brain just shuts off. So I just have to figure out, which one do I want to focus on the most. How do you handle feedback and revisions during the editing process?
I mean, I'm fine with any. Luckily, people have been very nice. Even the critique groups that I was in, though the first draft of Dance Like You Mean It was horrible. I mean, I didn't know where to put a comma. I couldn't spell. I couldn't do anything. And so this group, they just kind of took me under their wing, and they were all fabulous writers, and
Hmm.
they were gentle with me. Maybe you don't want to say things like this, or the point of view thing, for example. I was in everybody's head.
Mm,
And so then you just learn. It's a slow process, like I
yeah.
said, and it is a process and it's a journey. And I will say this for future writers, enjoy the journey. It's long, it could be hard, but it can also be fun.
It can be, yes, it can be very fun. It's like you're getting to do something that you just love doing. It's a great feeling. Do you have any surprises or challenges that you faced in publishing or writing?
I think the biggest one is the marketing. I honestly thought I'd write a good book and it would just go out in the world and become an instant bestseller. No, marketing is difficult for me because I don't like, I'm not great on social media.
Mm,
I think my 6 Facebook friends have read the book or whatever, but I need to learn and do better, like on Instagram. And I've never done TikTok. Just do stuff on Facebook. Plus, as a writer, you're a little, it's hard to be forceful. And, I'm kind of an introvert and I hate just
aren't we
throwing,
all?
yeah, like, please buy my book, please.
Yeah.
I hate to ask people for things,
Yeah.
but I'm working on it. I'm trying.
I think that's the hardest part about publishing is, especially when you're an indie author, you just really have to be everywhere and try to push. I don't want to say push your book, but you just really have to keep it in people's minds and thoughts, and that's consistent posting on social media is that whichever one that is your favorite. Um, and so, talking about marketing and building a reader base now, do you have any strategies that you have found to be most effective for finding new readers?
No, I'm trying. I was hoping, you can tell me that. Uh, no, but I'm just trying to get it in front of people. And I mean, I will see somebody reading a book out in public and I'll say, hey, you like to read here and give them my card and hopefully that they'll read it. But as far as really marketing, I was kind of hoping that the publishers would help with that.
Mm,
Um, I've got 2 publishers. One does a great job, getting social media out there. The other one does nothing. And the one that does nothing is the one that has Magdalenes. And I just beg her to please, help me do something. And she's smart. They COVID hit them too.
hmm.
Um, but I just can't get them to really promote it. The promotion is up to the author.
Yeah, it really is. And
Mm,
it has been for quite some time. And when all the small presses started coming around, and when was that? The early 2000s?
probably.
Yeah. So do you think social media is important for authors today?
Absolutely, it is. But I'm just not very good at it, but absolutely. And I think that if I could, I mean, there have been some authors on TikTok, I guess, and they're good authors, but they're not the best authors ever. And their books have hit, stratospheric sales because they are constantly putting it out there, putting it out there. Um, and I just don't have that confidence. Plus, I just don't know how to do TikTok. I just need to
Well,
hire a 12-year-old.
right. TikTok is kind of hard. I mean, I think you have to know where your readers kind of hang out too. And I know mine aren't really on TikTok. So I just don't even mess with that anymore. I mean, I tried it and I'm probably not doing everything right either, but you really need to know where your readers are hanging out. Like I think most of mine are on Facebook. So that's where I kind of keep my presence up the most. Do you have any advice for building a loyal readership?
Writing good books and putting them in their hands. Really, I mean, it's like if you have a good book and you just hope that you get them to enough people that they'll tell their friends and it'll keep going. Um, but I wish I could be a little better as far as the marketing and getting the book out there to other
Hmm.
people. Um, I think you do a fabulous job with all yours. Um, but and I do try to post some stuff, but I get on there and I'm like, oh, I hate to ask people you know, to do this when I shouldn't be afraid.
No, yeah, you shouldn't.
Do it and say, hey, this is a great book, you guys. Pick it up and give me a call, let me know, whatever. And if hopefully they will put a review out. We'll but everybody that I get the book to loves it. It's just getting it to readers.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part. And I just need to find even book club groups on Facebook. They're great, but you can't recommend your book to these book club groups because you get shut down.
Right.
So, you know, and that's a little frustrating. You want,
Yeah, it is hard to find those readers. It's hard to kind of keep them engaged too once you do find them. And I think that's probably the most challenging part of being a published author is just that marketing piece is just it's a beast, right?
you want to write. You want to sit
Yeah,
and write your story. You don't want to just market. That's not my specialty. I'd
right.
rather just tell the stories. Um, and that's the biggest challenge for me. So
Yeah.
far, I've written good books, knock on wood, um, but I just haven't been able to get them out there very well.
So, what advice for aspiring authors do you have? What's one piece of advice you wish you'd known earlier in your writing journey?
How to write? No, or just start, just write. Just sit down and write. If you have a story, this is what I tell people. If you've got an idea, put yourself in the room with those characters. Be that character. Use all five senses when you're in the room. What does it smell like? What does it look like? And you're sitting there with those characters, like a movie, like watching a movie, and you're just in the background typing everything that's going on.
Hmm.
And another thing is that I tell people is, I've been lucky to speak at some like I don't say assisted living, independent living places, and I tell these people, write your story. You know, tell your kids. This is the one thing that I really wish I would have sat down with my family and gotten their history
Hmm.
because when they're gone, so is their story. And and even your kids, tell your kids you used to be cool and tell them what a cool teenager you were and what it was like. And I think that it would open some doors uh, for the family and for writers.
No, I think that's good advice too. And I think that's the hardest part is just sitting down to start.
Mhm.
Um, do you have, and speaking of just starting out, any tips for those who are considering a career in writing and publishing?
Get your bartending skills honed first. No, kidding. I'm kidding. No, it's just write the stories. If the I love these organizations that I was part of, romance writers, DARA, taking classes, community classes have creative writing classes, and then SMU I took some courses and learn the craft properly. Read some books and I wish I could even say, get online and look up, how to publish a book, how to write a book. And there's one book that is fabulous, Stephen King's On Writing.
Oh, yes, that is it's excellent.
Yeah. And just sit down and write and be that character. Put yourself in the head of your character.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for anyone that is just starting out who are looking for, like, how would they find a critique group or a writing group? Do you have any tips for that?
Well, I found the first critique group out of a college course, through SMU.
Hmm.
And we were together for many years. And then the second one, I was at a writing event, book sale, and I found another woman there, and we just kind of connected. And we started a critique group, and we're still, together. We've got like 5 of us in this group, and it's wonderful. And it's good, there's some groups that they try to be mean. There's a big
Hmm.
one that meets like once a week or something. And some of the writers there, they try to make a point of being really critical of your writing. And
Hmm.
that just beats you down. It does no good. You want somebody to be supportive but honest and
Hmm.
and be done.
Yeah, and would you recommend joining like a writing organization such as RWA or something?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's a wealth of information there, and we all know that there was a meltdown with RWA, but they are really doing a great job these days of pulling it back up into where it was before. So
Good.
I have found that it's just such a great experience now, and that the people are really trying to make the organization better than it was.
Yeah.
It's a great environment.
Local group DARA, Dallas area
Yes.
romance authors. I was always inspired when I go to a meeting.
Yes.
I would look at these writers and they'd have these books out, multiple books, and I was just so jealous of them. It's like, how did they do it? And I admired them. So it was a nice, you know, like I said, an inspiration to help
Yes.
forward.
Yeah, and if you're in the Dallas area, we're even not in the Dallas area, we're always looking for new members. There's a
I
little plug.
know. I thought about
Come
rejoining.
back. You
I have.
should.
And
You
it's like
should
I
come
said,
back. Yeah, it's we do hybrid meetings. So mostly they're on Zoom, and then quarterly we're in person and Zoom. So even if you can't make it to the in-person meetings, we still do our meetings on Zoom. So well, we are actually almost out of time, if you can believe that.
okay, well,
Um,
it's been fun.
I know I had so much fun talking to you, and it's great learning about your writing journey and how you came to publishing, and you know, good luck with your books. I mean, I know it's hard.
It is, but and then at the end of the year when you get that royalty check and you go, I can't even buy, dinner with this.
I know.
Why did I spend all this time writing? But it's okay. It's good. You get a lot of satisfaction out of knowing that you got a book out there.
Yes, and people think you're cool and a rock star
No,
because you're
nobody thinks
published.
I'm cool.
Oh, well,
I'm
well, I
kidding.
do. All right, Jean, thank you so much for joining us here and sharing your incredible journey and insights. Be sure to check out her book, The Magdalenes. And a huge thank you to all of you for watching and listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share your favorite part of the conversation. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for joining me on Miles Beyond the Page. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. If you're an author and want to be a guest, visit michellemiles.net/podcast to apply. Keep writing, keep dreaming, and I'll see you next time.